Good morning, students. So today we are in the fourth session of our lesson, Our Environment, and here we are going to complete three topics. One is the unidirectional flow of energy and the other is the 10% law and biological magnification. Before I start with today's session, I take a quick recap of what we had done before. Okay. Now students, in the previous session we had discussed about the ozone layer and the importance of ozone layer to human beings. Okay, the session before the ozone layer, that part, what we had done, we had studied about the food chain and how a complicated food chain is called as a food web. Correct? Okay, so this was a quick recap of the previous two sessions. Now we will do one thing. We will start with the unidirectional flow of energy. Okay, now to understand the unidirectional flow of energy, let's talk about energy first. Now the source of energy on the earth's surface is the sun. Okay, it is basically the sun which provides energy for all living organisms. Why did I say that? Now that is because the sunlight is used by the plants to prepare their food, and that food which is prepared by the plants is utilized by all other living organisms. Okay, so sun's energy is the solar energy. That solar energy is getting converted to chemical energy. So that means we are converting one form of energy to another form of energy. And when we convert one form of energy to another form of energy, some amount of energy is lost in the form of heat. Okay, so this is happening in a biological system too. So here I have an ecosystem here. So you can see this is a terrestrial ecosystem. Sun is a source of energy. You can see the green plants preparing its food by photosynthesis. And you can see animals like grasshopper feeds on the green plants. This grasshopper is in turn eaten up by the frog. The frog is in turn eaten up by a bird. Okay, so you can see that the movement of energy, solar energy moving to the plant, and from there slowly it is moving to the body of grasshopper and slowly to the body of the frog and finally to the body of the bird. So here there is a unidirectional flow of energy. Energy is moving from the sun to all other living organisms. At no point of time it happens that the living organism will give its energy to the sun. It is not happening. Okay, so this is a unidirectional flow. But at the same time, I would like to add that when the solar energy from the sun is getting converted to chemical energy, at that time some energy is lost as heat. At the same time, from the plant, when the energy is taken up by the grasshopper, at that time also energy is lost in the form of heat, because it is transferred from one form to another form when the energy is moving from one organism to another organisms. Okay, so let's do the reading part now. Unidirectional flow of energy. The flow of energy is unidirectional and requires a continuous input, and the continuous input is the sun. Energy cannot be made or destroyed. Energy transformation are not perfect and energy is lost in each transformation in the form of heat. As I told you, when it is moving from one organism to another organism, some amount is lost in the form of heat. Okay, yeah. So let's come to the next slide now. Now in the next slide here, I will just explain this picture here again. Yes. Here you know that this is the sun. Sun solar energy is utilized by the producers. The energy is passed on to the primary consumers, then on to the secondary consumers, and then on to the tertiary consumers. The secondary consumers are also called primary carnivores, and the tertiary consumers are also called as secondary carnivores. So here also you can see the flow of energy is taking place in this particular direction. Okay, this is strictly we are talking about the flow of energy. Okay, so from the sun to the different type of organisms on the earth's surface. And when it is moving from one organism to another organism, some amount of energy is lost in the form of heat. Okay, now here at the lower part, it has been given about the biogeochemical cycle, that any of this organism, that is from the producers to the primary consumers to secondary to the tertiary consumers, any of these organisms can die. When they die, their dead bodies are going to be acted upon by decomposers. Now that decomposers will decompose the body and return the minerals back to the soil. Minerals back to the soil. And these minerals act as a raw materials for the producers to prepare their food. But only with that raw materials can the producers prepare their food? No. What does it again require? It again requires the help of sunlight, that is nothing but your solar energy. So students, this is regarding the unidirectional flow of energy. Let's read that reading part. The flow of energy in the ecosystem is unidirectional. The energy enters the plants from the sun through photosynthesis during the making of food. This energy is then passed from one organism to another in the food chain. Energy given out by the organism as heat is lost to the environment. It does not return to be used by the plants again. And this makes the flow of energy in ecosystem as unidirectional. Okay. So when one form of energy is converted to another form of energy, that heat is liberated. That heat we cannot take it back. This living organism cannot take it back. Okay. Now, let us come to the next part, and in the next part you are going to study here, students, the 10% law. Now to study this 10% law, let us see here now. Now only the producers can utilize or trap or tap the energy from the sun. So here you can see that this is the energy which is present in the sunlight. Out of that, a particular amount is utilized by the plants to prepare their food. So when the plant is preparing its food at that time, now students, you can see that this is the amount of energy which is there in the sunlight. Okay, now after that what is going to happen? From that sunlight, that is the solar energy, some amount of energy is utilized by the producers to prepare its food. So let us take that the producers are making how much? 10,000 kilocalories. 10,000 kilocalories of energy has been trapped and the food has been prepared for that, and the total amount which is there in a producer is 10,000 kilocalories of food is there. That is the energy which is there in the food. Okay. Now after a plant is preparing its food, is it going to happen that that plant is going to be eaten by the grasshopper in the next minute? No. The plant may be living for 1 week. The plant may be living for 1 month. Correct. So when the plant is living for 1 week or 1 month, it will undergo what? Respiration. It will undergo what? Growth. Correct or not? It may carry out some repair mechanisms in the body. Okay, so at that time, some amount of the energy from this 10,000 kilocalories is utilized by the plant itself. So by the time the grasshopper comes and eats the plant, the grasshopper is only going to get how many kilocalories? This is our grasshopper. The grasshopper is only getting the 1,000 kilocalories out of it. That is the 10% of plant's energy is only been given to the grasshopper. 90% is lost. 90% is lost, as I told you, for the in the form of respiration, in the growth, the maintenance, and lost as heat also, because it is getting transformed from one form to another form. Correct. So 10% of energy is only passed away to the next trophic level. Now the grasshopper is feeding upon that particular plant. Now is it so that after feeding directly the grasshopper will be eaten up by a mouse? No, grasshopper will jump from one place to another place, and it is going to move, it is going to fly, correct or not? It is going to excrete. All the life activities are going to take place in the grasshopper. So what is happening? Again, it is going to utilize a lot of energy for its own life processes. So now when the grasshopper is going to be eaten up by a mouse, let me tell you again, 10% of energy is going to be transferred. So out of the 1,000 kilocalories, you can see 100 kilocalories are only moving ahead. Correct. Now after the mouse eats or consumes that grasshopper, does it happen that the mouse will be all of a sudden eaten up by the python? No. Definitely, it will move around here, it will move around there, and then accidentally it is eaten up by a python. So when it is eaten up by a python, again, as I told you, growth, maintenance, lost in the form of heat, energy lost in the form of heat. And now what is that? 10% of the energy of the mouse will be only passed on to the python. So you are seeing that in each step, each trophic level, only 10% is passed to the next trophic level, correct? And now you have understood why it is only 10% which is moving, because when an animal is having the energy from the food, that entire energy will not be passed on to the next trophic level, because it will be utilizing some part of it for its own growth and maintenance. And when are converting it from one form to another form, definitely some amount of heat is lost. Okay, so rule of 10%, I have only 10% passes to the next level, therefore 90% loss at each trophic level. Okay, now let's read this part. During the transfer of 10% law, during the transfer of energy to the successive trophic levels in an ecosystem, there is loss of energy all along the path. Number of transfer of no transfer of energy is 100%. The energy available at each trophic level is 10% of the previous level. We have seen that 10,000 getting converted to here. You can see the 10% here. 10,000 getting converted to your 1,000 here, 1,000 getting converted to 100 kilocalories, and 100 kilocalories finally getting converted to 10 kilocalories. Okay, I hope the slide is clear, students. Yeah, so here again I have the 10% law here. Yes, now in this 10% law, this is a 10% law, only about 10% of the energy at any trophic level is transferred to the next level. The rest is lost through metabolic process. That is, metabolic process means life processes as heat. So you can see here one more trophic level. These are the producers. This is a primary consumer, this is a secondary consumer, and this is a tertiary consumer. Can you see this is a pyramid here? So if I make it the energy pyramid is going to be like this. Can you see it is broad at the base and it is going to taper as it moves ahead, because there is loss of energy in the form of heat. Okay, that is, as I told you, carrying out different metabolic activities. So who will be the one who is going to have maximum energy in a food chain? It will be the producers who are having maximum amount of energy. And from the producers, as a food energy passes from one trophic level to another trophic level, always there is loss of energy, and only 10% will be passed on to the next trophic level. Okay, so that's why we draw a pyramid. It is a triangle because the base is going to have more amount of energy as compared to that of the apex, and the apex will be always occupied by the top level carnivore. And so sad, you see, the top level carnivores are going to get very little amount of energy as compared to that of the producers. Okay, thus there is a gradual reduction in the amount of energy available as we go from producer level to the higher trophic level of organisms. Okay, students, I hope you have understood the 10% law. Now, so we have completed unidirectional flow of energy. We have completed with the 10% law. Let us come to the third topic, okay, and that is biological magnification. So now let's go to see what is this biological magnification. Okay, yeah, first you will pay attention. Now, biological magnification is a topic which is related to pollutant. Okay, you know, students, we use different type of pesticides like that of DDT. Okay, and in many of the industries, you know, mercury is utilized. Okay, so now in the industries, after the mercury is utilized, what is there? When they clean that particular industry, that wastewater is going to contain mercury, and that wastewater will be thrown out into the nearby water resource. So the nearby water resource can get contaminated with mercury, or it may get contaminated with the insecticides like that of DDT. Okay, and the problem is that substances like that of mercury and DDT, when it enters into the body of the organism, it literally gets accumulated in the body of the organism. Okay, it gets accumulated in the fatty tissues of our body, and it cannot be excreted out. So what is there? The amount of this pollutants like DDT and mercury will keep on accumulating in our body, and this phenomenon of accumulation of this pollutants in the body of any type of organisms, you call it as biological magnification. Okay, and this any type of organism, when I say it is going to be the different trophic levels. Okay, so that we will see here now. Okay, so I explain it with the help of a picture. Yes. Yeah, so here I am having a water body, and in this water body I am having a pollutant. Okay, the amount of pollutant is very less, that is 0.0000003 ppm. ppm stands for parts per million, so the amount of pollutant is very less. Okay, now in this water body there is going to be small microorganisms which are called as the zooplanktons. Now what happens is this pollutants will penetrate into the body of the zooplanktons. Now this zooplanktons, when I say, they are microscopic organisms. Now from the body of the zooplanktons it will enter into the body of the small fish. Okay, so zooplankton, it is what, 0.04 ppm. Okay, when it is from the body of the zooplankton, when it is entering into the body of the small fish, it is what, 0.5 ppm. So now you will ask why it has increased. Now let me tell you, a small fish is not going to feed on one zooplankton, correct? It will not feed on one zooplankton. Okay, it is going to feed upon around 100 or 200 zooplanktons. So that 200 zooplanktons are going to have all the toxic materials. So it will get the toxic materials from all the 200 zooplankton. So the amount of the toxic substance in the body of small fish is going to increase. Now this small fish is going to be consumed by the large fish. Now is it going to happen that the large fish is going to have only one small fish? No, it may have two, it may have three. So the concentration of these toxic substances will be more in the body of the large fish. And this large fish may be eaten up by any of the bird. Now, when these birds are consuming this fish here, they are not going to consume only one fish. They may consume around 5 fish. And all the 5 fish of this particular pond is contaminated. So, all the 5 fish will have that many amount of toxic substances. So, finally, the body of the bird is going to accumulate a large amount of toxic substances. So, you can see here small fish, as I told you, 0.5 ppm parts per million. Okay, now it has become large fish, it has become 2 parts per million. And finally, in the body of a bird who is eating this large fish, it has become how much? 25 parts per million. So in this way, the toxic substances keeps on accumulating at every trophic level, because as I told you, these substances are lipophilic, that is, they have a liking towards the fatty tissues, gets accumulated in the body and cannot be excreted. If it would have been excreted, then we will not have this problem of biological magnification. Okay, let's do the reading part now. Biological magnification. It is defined as an increase in the concentration of some harmful substances at trophic level. Sometimes these harmful chemicals may enter into the food chain. It is surprising to note that at each step the concentration keeps on increasing. We have seen that. Now, let's go to the next slide. The next slide also, it is here. You can see it is a water body. You can see that it is entering into the pollutant. You can see from the water body this much. In the body of the fighter, when you talk about the plankton, you can see it is 5 ppm it is entering. Here eaten up by a fish, you can see that, and finally in a bird, you can see the concentration increases. Okay, yeah. So now this is regarding the red dots. The red dots here, it is showing the amount of toxic substances in the water body and how the amount is increasing as we move from one trophic level to another trophic level. Okay, students. Yeah. Now, the contaminants which are there, as I told you, the toxic substances which are there might be heavy metals such as mercury, arsenic and pesticides, polychlorinated diphenyls and DDT. These substances are taken up by the organism through the food they consume. When the organism in the higher food chain feed on the organism at the lower food chain containing these toxins get accumulated in the higher organisms, which we have seen. Okay. That water is containing what? Plankton. Plankton is eaten by fish. Fish is eaten up by a bird. This you can study in different food chains. And this is happening, students. In the outside environment, in the ecosystem, this is happening. Okay. So now this is regarding the biological magnification. I hope you students have understood what the biological magnification properly. Okay. So this marks the end of our lesson, our environment. In the beginning of the session, the beginning of this lesson, we have studied about biotic component, natural ecosystem, artificial ecosystem, producers, consumers, decomposers. Then in the second part of the lesson, we studied about the food chain as well as the food web. In the third part of the lesson, we studied about the ozone layer and its depletion. And in the fourth part of the lesson, we studied about the 10% law, the biological magnification and unidirectional flow of energy. Okay, so now let's look into our assignment questions. Yeah. Now explain the 10% law. I hope all of you can explain the 10% law. You have to draw a pyramid. After you draw a pyramid, what you are going to do is, at the base of the pyramid, we will have maximum energy. You can take 10,000 kilocalories or 1,000 kilocalories, and you have to see that only 10% of it will pass into the next trophic level, and the minimum amount of energy will be there at the apex, where the top level carnivores are there. Okay. Next, explain the phenomenon of biological magnification. As I told you, you have to speak about a contaminated water body. You have to say about toxic substances like that of DDT and arsenic or mercury there. And from the body of the plankton, it enters into body of small fish. From a small fish to a larger fish to that of a bird. So you can write a particular number and you can see show them how it is increasing. And you can explain that definitely that a fish is a big fish is not going to feed on one small fish, but it will feed on many small fish. So that much amount of accumulation will take place, and excretion does not occur because they get accumulated in our tissue. That's why it is called biological magnification. It has got another word actually, bioaccumulation. It is also called a bioaccumulation because it is accumulating in the body of living organisms. Now explain the unidirectional flow of energy. You know that the energy moves from the sun to the different organisms. Correct. And when solar energy is moving from your ecosystem to that of the plant's body, and from the plant's body to that of the primary consumer, then the secondary, some amount of energy is lost in the form of heat. Okay, so that will be the unidirectional flow of energy. Okay, so that marks the end of this lesson and the end of this session. Thank you, students.